No questions. Yep.
So let me hear you say again, we can build a full-blown 5-line monorail for less money than it's going to cost to build a 1.7-mile tunnel.
Well, you know, I'm not a monorail expert, but I know that the technology is actually less expensive because, you know, you're sticking these poles in the ground and you have something running in the air rather than digging tunnels. So in some ways it's a much more efficient means of transportation, of mass transportation. There was another question, yeah.
Can you describe the next steps for us to make this happen?
To make what happen?
One scale monorail thing?
No, I can't. And the reason I can't is that there is not the political will among our political leadership to revisit them, which is very, very unfortunate. There was any other questions?
I have a question.
Yep.
So you mentioned potential reductions to the sales tax. I've heard that the sales tax is actually a fairly popular tax. Do you have any evidence on that?
Well, the sales tax isn't really, I don't think it's not a popular tax, but it's a hidden tax, right? So you don't really know you're paying the sales tax when you buy stuff. And that is one of the reasons why it's easy to collect and easy, well, politicians always go to expand the sales tax, because it's an easy thing to do and you bring the money in and people don't necessarily notice it. When it hits 10 cents a dollar, people start to notice it. And that's one of the conundrums we're in because when you think about what is a regressive tax, the sales tax is the most regressive tax because the more money you make, the less you're going to spend on everyday consumption and in Main Street businesses. Less proportionally you're going to spend. But because people don't see it, they don't really understand that. So that's why I think that a rebate of a certain amount that is a very, very progressive, actually more progressive than dropping the sales tax, because you're giving the same amount of money, $500, to a family that makes $20,000 as you're giving it to a family that makes $2 million. Yeah.
On that question of the rebate, there's a provision in the Washington State Constitution that you cannot give, the state cannot give money to individuals or, so that would seem to be a constitutional barrier to a rebate.
You know, I think that is, we've talked to some constitutional lawyers about that, and I don't think that's really cut and dried, so I think there's a workaround there. Yeah, so, but it's obviously we're aware of that. Okay. Yeah.
John, the problem with the rebate is, as we've seen in Alaska with the Alaska dividend, is that very little of that money really gets spent in a way that improves the economy. Very little of it gets invested. It mostly goes to buy Ford trucks or snowmobiles or something. It tends to be, in Alaska, it has tended to be non-productive purchases, consumption purchases. And so, from an economist's point of view, taking that much money and frittering it away is not really a good thing for the state.
Well, I guess it depends how you determine what frittering is. And certainly in Alaska you may be buying snowmobiles or Ford trucks, but that is economic activity. But I don't think you're going to be selling so many snowmobiles here. And in a recession, people are more apt to spend these things on basic human need. Now, if all things were equal and we just gave people this money, that might be something. But if we're also offering them a way to get around that is different, right? That is more comfortable for them, and that is mass transit and less emissions, then that's a good trade-off in my mind. But your point is well taken in that the fact is that a sales tax decrease is probably going to be translated more directly into everyday consumption, not into snowmobiles or jet skis on Lake Washington. but into movies or into, you know, going to Safeway. And that is the problem between lump sums and sort of incremental changes in taxation.
Thank you, John.